Hey everybody, welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo-O. Whoa, that's so cool. We got a black background and bright foreground, or I guess that's what it's called. But anyway, welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo-O. And how about we put a little light on the subject, right? So hold on real quick, watch. Here we go. And there we go. We got some light. Hey, welcome. God said, let there be light, right? Welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo-O. Bo-O, that's my name. You could always check out the archives of the YouTube channel at my YouTube channel. It's just over there. That's my name. It's usually up there, but now it's over there because I'm at the office. And so the church office. And so it's a little different. So today we're going to go through Job 39 and 40. And I'm glad you're sticking with me. Mike, what's happening? I'm glad you guys are sticking with me through the Bible. We're kind of rolling through the Bible, getting through it pretty quick, which is absolutely epic. So fun to go through the Bible and just do it in a devotion style. That way you kind of get the flow. And again, many of our questions are answered as we just go through the Bible and read it. And, you know, one of the big, I think, revelations that we get in the book of Job right now is kind of about God, that when God does respond, it's in a pretty radical way, and he does to Job, and it says it's through a whirlwind of all things. So very interesting, through the whirlwind, that this voice is heard by Job. And God finally speaks to Job after a lot of chapters of Job and his friends going back and forth, and then this one young, if you will, minister towards the end talking to Job as well. And when God does share, it's pretty radical, and it's kind of this idea of, you know, God knows way more than you. And so it continues like this. And remember, Job has been wanting this time with God. He's been wanting kind of a day in court with the Lord. And sometimes we all want that. We all kind of want to be in the know. We kind of want to know, God, what are you doing? You know, what's going on in my life? And we don't have the answers right there. And the feelings that we have, right? Sometimes we can get fearful, and a lot of anxiety can build up in us as humans because we really aren't in the know. And a lot of times we'll say, hey, just trust in the Lord. And yeah, trust in the Lord. And that can be difficult, you know. I mean, you know, we can try to figure things out like Job's friends tried to with Job, right? Hey, if you do this and maybe if you do that, and you try to kind of make this equation of life, right? If you do A and then you do B, you're going to get C. You're going to get this result. But then what happens when that equation doesn't work? And you're like, whoa, what's going on, right? And so we saw God's response in 38, which was awesome, right? So let's see about 39. So I'm going to read through this, right? It says, Do you know when the wild goats give birth? Hey, Job, do you know when the wild goats give birth? Meaning, do you know what's going on way up there on the mountain, right? No. Have you watched as deer are born in the wild? No. Do you know how many months they carry their young? Not quite sure, Job might say. Are you aware of the time of their delivery? They crouch down to give birth to their young and deliver their offspring. Their young grow up in the open fields and leave home and never return. Who gives the wild donkey its freedom? Who unites its ropes? I have placed it in the wilderness. Its home is the wasteland. It hates the noise of the city. It has no driver to shout at. The mountains are its pasture, where it searches for every blade of grass. Will the wild ox consent to being tamed? Will it spend the night in your stall? I kind of love that beginning. The reason why is because there's so much going on in the world without my understanding. Again, I'm so limited to just kind of this little here and now, right? There's birds out there that are doing their thing. There's snakes out there doing their things. There's ants. There's creepy crawly things. There's all kinds of things that are just going about its business. They're going about their circle of life, if you will. And I really don't spend much time thinking about all that. I could tend to just be so focused on just me and the here and the now and what's going on with me and blah, 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 that, man, all this anxiety, right? Why do you think we kind of go, hey, I just need to get out into the woods and I just need to get out into the green grass and the meadows? And why is it that everybody's just wanting space nowadays, right? Can I just get like 10 acres and just kind of hunker down and just live out there by myself? Can I just have a little moment, right? Because there's something to be said about having space and seeing how things go just about in a general way daily, right? How the animals live. And maybe the way we're doing things is kind of crazy, right? Have you ever thought about that? Like maybe this industrialized world we've created is not the way it was created to be. So pretty crazy. So it says, can you hitch a wild ox to a plow? Will it plow a field for you? Given its strength, can you trust it? Can you leave and trust the ox to do the work? Can you rely on it to bring home your grain and deliver it to your threshing floor? The ostrich flaps her wings grandly, but there are no match for the feathers of the stork. She lays her eggs on top of the earth, letting them be warmed in the dust. She doesn't worry about a foot might crush them or a wild animal might destroy them. She is harsh towards her young as if they were not her own. She doesn't care if they die, for God has deprived her of wisdom. He has given her no understanding. But whenever she jumps up to run, she passes the swiftest horse and its rider. Have you given the horse its strength or clothed its neck with a flowing mane? I'm a little scared of horses. I don't know about you, but they're kind of big. Did you give the ability to leap like a locust? Did you give it the ability to leap, a horse to leap like a locust? Its majestic snorting is terrifying. Its paws the earth and rejoices in its strength. When it charges out to battle, it laughs at fear and is unafraid. It does not run from the sword, which is quite amazing because what's my fear like? Gosh, what's my fear? Do I get a little scared? Do I get a little worried? Am I like that? Yeah, I do. I do run at the sword. I find that rules my life a lot. I think fear is something that definitely, can really grip us as human beings in some pretty tremendous ways. And, if you underestimate how fears run in your world, just think through it a little bit. Man, wow. Quite amazing. But the horse is different, and God set it up different, where some animals don't run from the sword. It says, the arrows rattle against it, and the spear and javelin flash. It paws the ground fiercely and rushes towards into battle when the ram's horn blows. It snorts at the sound of the horn. It senses the battle in the distance. It quivers at the captain's command and the noise of the battle. Is it your wisdom that makes the hawk soar and spread its wings towards the south? Is it at your command that the eagle rises to the heights and makes its nest? It lives on the cliffs, making its home on a distant rocky crag. From there it hunts its prey, keeping watch with piercing eyes. Its young gulp down blood where there's a carcass. There you'll find it. Ooh, interesting. Kind of weird. But you know what I like about this too is it tells me that God is personal, right? There is no, it's like in deism, you have this God who's out there. He's like somewhere out there and he's created everything and he's kind of wound the watch and let it tick down. But in the Bible, you have a God who is not only, righteous and holy and veiled when appearing to humans, but also you get the idea that God is very personal. He's very much involved in the daily work, the daily things that are going on, the different laws that take place. And I kind of think of that in my own life. Is God personal with me? Is he involved in my daily life? Yeah, he is. And what a blessing that is, that he knows every minute of my life. He knows my going forth. He knows when I get up. He knows when I go to bed. He knows everything about my nighttime. He knows everything about the times that are in pitch black when I'm sleeping. He knows about all things. My God is very personal. Nothing is new to God. Nothing's odd to God. Nothing's like takes God back. Whoa, what a shocker. When you think like, oh man, I'm disappointed God. Oh yeah, God knows. You know what I mean? It's not shocked, by it. He's not like blown away. Whoa, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, Mike. Or, oh, I can't believe that. No, that's not how God is. God knows everything. He knows what we're going to ask before we even ask it. So pretty radical. Am I thankful today that God is a personal God? That he's involved in my kids' lives. And he can touch my kids without Bo. He can touch them without me. He doesn't need me to do it. God can do it in another way, a different kind of ideal way than mine. But if I think it's got to be me, oh man, a lot of pressure on me. I got to get her done. Got to get it done. All these things like that. I got to do this. I got to do that. But I trust instead, you got to trust the Lord. Trust what? That God's able to. God is personal, right? And so chapter 40 is a cool chapter. It says, then the Lord said to Job, so it continues on, do you still want to argue with the Almighty? You are God's critic, but do you have answers? So, hey, you might have answers for the skeptic, but do you got answers for God, right? He says, Job replies to the Lord, I am nothing. How could I ever find the answers? Whoa, Job says, how can I ever find the answers? I will cover my mouth with my hand. Oh, right? I have said too much already. I have nothing more to say. So Job just goes, uh-oh, that's right. I don't really know what I'm doing. That's right. I am so ignorant of so many things. Whatever knowledge I do have, there's an infinite amount of knowledge I don't have. And so I might glean some information, but I don't have all the information. I might be out for a cause and fight for a cause and be an activist and go do things. But you know what? I could have it wrong. You never know. I could be totally going against the grain. I might be going right into the wrong area that I think I'm going into the right area. I really can't see all the angles. Now, this is why I need other people in my life, because I need other people to see things that I just can't see. And even with all the people around me, it still doesn't mean we're going to have the full picture. In 1 Corinthians 13, it says right now, we know in part. We know in part. We're kind of looking at everything through a mirror that's all scratchy. It's kind of warped. The figures, we can make them out, but it's kind of a little weird. It's like that fun house that you went into as a kid, right at the fair, at the carny, and man, you went into the carnival fair and you went into that fun house and you saw those weird, glass mirrors and you were kind of like tripping out as a kid. You're like, whoa. It's like that. So Job is in this dialogue or this talk with the Lord, but the Lord just says, hey, you going to answer me, Job? And the Lord answered Job from the whirlwind. Job 40, right? Verse 7. Brace yourself like a man, because I have some questions for you, and you must answer them. Will you discredit my justice and condemn me just to prove you are right? Do we do that? Do we condemn God to prove that we are right? Oh, maybe that's what's going on in our world all the time. Maybe we're condemning God to prove that we're right. Maybe that's what universities are like too. Thinking they're right, trying to condemn God. Gosh, it's interesting, right? It says, all right, put on your glory and splendor, your honor and majesty. Give vent to your anger. Let it overflow against the proud. Humiliate the proud with a glance. Walk on the wicked where they stand. Bury them in the dust. Imprison them in the world of the dead. Then even I would praise you, for your own strength would save you. Whoa, if you got it all together, why don't you just judge the wicked? Why don't you go ahead and be the judge? Let's see how you judge. Let's see if you can judge. What is my judgment like? I better be with mercy, that's for sure. I better have judgment with mercy. So take a look at Behemoth, which I made just as I made you. It eats grass like an ox, see its powerful loins and its muscles of its belly. Now, what is this behemoth thing? Okay, it's got powerful loins, its muscles of its belly are huge, I guess. It eats grass like an ox, by the way. Its tail is as strong as a cedar, so it's got a giant tail. Not a little lizard tail, but a giant tail. And it says the sinews of its thighs are knit together tightly. Wow. Its bones are tubes of bronze. You can see its muscles. Its bones are gigantic. Its body is huge, right? And it says his limbs are bars of iron. Man, it looks like that it can break a gate. Now, I don't know about you, but there's not many animals that you look at in the zoo and you go, man, that thing's going to snap that fence, right? But this creature, this behemoth, is described as being so large that if it came against bars of iron, it would literally just snap it in half. It would break it. Obviously, we're talking about some dinosaurish-like creatures going down. You know, is there dinosaurs in the Bible? Well, that's a big question. Here you go. What is this thing? Giganto, cedar tails, giant muscles, giant body, giant belly, giant legs, but eats like an ox. Interesting. It says it's a prime example of God's handiwork, and only its creator can threaten it. The mountains offer it their best food where all the wild animals play. It lies under the lotus plants, hidden by the reeds in the marsh. It's a marshy creature, hangs out in marsh, but eats all these interesting leafy things. Very interesting. The lotus plants give it shade among the willows beside the stream. It is not disturbed by the raging river, not concerned when the swelling Jordan rushes around it. No one can catch it off guard or put a ring in its nose and lead it away. It's too big for a human being to take it captive. It is too large of a creature that when a river is flooding and running strong, it really doesn't care. Has no problem holding its place. Now, I've surfed a lot, and when you're sometimes oh my God, I just spaced it. But sometimes the water, the tide can be so strong that you have an undertow that's pretty gnarly against your feet. You might have felt that before, where you feel like your feet are going to give away as the sand starts to break apart underneath your feet on the beach. Well, this animal doesn't have that problem of feeling like it's going to fall and become unstable. So this creature is giant. So that's how chapter 40 ends. God continues with Job and continues to talk to him and brings up something very cool, and that is this dinosaur. and says, hey, where were you? How did you make this thing? Did you create it to be like this? Very unique. And nothing's wrong with us looking, and I think it's really good for us to look at the world and go, man, God created so many neat things, so many unique things, and just have an appreciation of the uniqueness of the Creator. It's like when someone's looking at a painting, and I was at the Norton Simon Museum in Pasadena years ago. You look at all the paintings there, and you kind of start to be blown away by all the creators of them. You start really appreciating. I got a Picasso behind me, right? Not a real one, but it's the old guitarist. You can look it up, but it's a very cool picture. But you start looking at it and you go, wow, man, that's a cool Picasso. I've always liked it. And so I got a print of it and framed it up. But those are things that you start looking and you start admiring the Creator, and you go, man, someone had a mind behind that. Musicians, they create music. And, that's great. Composers, performers play that music. But, man, it's in the mind of the artist. And God is the great artist. And that's something to appreciate today in our morning Devo. So, hey, you guys have a great one. We'll talk at you later. Thanks a lot for checking it out. Bye-bye.